I didn't get home from overtime until nearly 9. I was carrying a box of cold Chinese takeout orange chicken and fried rice all mashed together, tasting like cardboard. The moment I stepped inside, my eyes automatically went to the old wool mat in the corner of the living room. It was empty. That corner had never looked so empty. Jasper had been gone for 3 days. I'd adopted him from a shelter 10 years ago, a skinny little grey tabby, all ribs and a screechy, annoying meow. But the second I saw him, I picked him. Or maybe he picked me. He always loved jumping up on the windowsill to watch cars go by, loved sitting on my keyboard to ruin my work, loved butting his head against me when I cried. The last time I took him to the vet was last Tuesday. Kidney failure he'd held on longer than they'd expected. At 10:15 that night, he died in my arms. His breathing stopped so quietly, but when I heard that final sound cut off, it felt like something had been scooped out of my chest. I set my dinner on the kitchen counter, but I couldn't bring myself to eat. The house was too quiet. No meows, no scratching in the litter box. The TV was on, but I wasn't watching. I just needed some noise to keep the silence from swallowing me whole. At 1 in the morning, I turned off the lights and got into bed. I'd barely laid down when I heard a sound downstairs, something light hitting the floor, then a dragging noise. I sat up and listened. Nothing. I told myself it was Carol next door moving furniture again. She liked to redecorate at weird hours. I turned over, ready to sleep it off until I heard a soft little thump at my feet. That was the sound Jasper always made when he jumped onto the bed. He never landed like other cats, silent and graceful. He always bumped the corner a bit, making this faint fabric rustle. But I knew that wasn't possible. I froze, barely breathing. 5 minutes passed. Nothing happened. I convinced myself I was just exhausted, hearing things. The next morning, I woke up to find an indentation by my feet. When I touched it, the sheet was still warm, like something had just been curled up there. I stared for a long moment. On the floor, I found a few strands of cat hair. I'd cleaned the whole place top to bottom. Even the litter box was gone. So where did those hairs come from? After that, things only got stranger. Thursday night, I was about to bake a frozen pizza. As soon as I turned around from the oven, there was a single piece of cat kibble on the kitchen floor. I'd thrown out all his leftover food. It was the same brand chicken flavor, dark brown, that distinctive little flattened shape. I picked it up, stared at it, then dropped it in the trash. Early Friday morning, I woke up to find the blinds on the windowsill swaying slightly, like something had just jumped across them. I walked over, looked out, nothing, but on the glass, I could see the faint, foggy print of a cat's nose. That weekend, I took a day off work because I felt like I was falling apart at the seams. I fell asleep scrolling on my phone on the couch, and when I woke up at dusk, there was a small toy ball on the living room floor. A plastic ball with a bell inside, but bright red. I'd never bought a red one. Jasper's toys were all orange or blue. I started to feel uneasy, though I couldn't explain exactly why. The house looked the same. The locks worked fine. The neighbors seemed normal. But sometimes, late at night, I'd hear soft footsteps on the stairs, like a cat's paws carefully padding across the carpet. I tried to ignore it, but the more I pushed it down, the clearer the sounds got. One time, while I was showering, the bathroom door cracked open just a little. I live alone. I knew I'd shut that door tight. I even heard the latch click. I pulled back the curtain. Nobody there, but downstairs, I heard a faint scratching, like claws on the couch fabric. I called Rachel, my only friend who owns cats, and also gets a little superstitious. I told her I felt like there was still something of Jasper's in the house. She went quiet for a bit, then said, "Maybe he has something left to do." "Like what?" "Like making sure you're not alone at night." I didn't answer. I didn't want to believe it, but I couldn't dismiss it either. Then came the night when everything finally shifted. I'd stayed late at work again, and on the drive home it started pouring rain. I was so tired, my head felt heavy, and climbing the stairs to my apartment almost made my legs give out. I didn't bother turning on the lights, just noticed the living room felt damp. Like maybe I'd left a window open. I went to check. It was shut tight. But on the windowsill, there were a few drops of water lined up perfectly, forming a half circle of tiny wet paw prints, like a cat had just jumped in. I stood there and stared at them. I didn't wipe them off. I didn't step back. Right then, I felt this sudden calm, like he was telling me, in his own way, I'm still here. Not to scare me, not to stay. Just a gentle, final good night. The next morning, everything was gone. No prints, no sounds, no toy ball. The house was back to normal. No more dents by my feet. No more soft footsteps on the stairs. The carpet looked freshly vacuumed. Even that strange red ball had vanished. I felt a bit emptier, but not sad, more like a quiet relief. I planted rosemary and lavender in the backyard. Jasper used to love hiding in them. Now I sit in a wicker chair on the patio, drinking coffee in the sun until I'm drowsy. Sometimes, when the wind brushes past my legs, I reflexively glance down, but there's nothing there. Sometimes at night, I dream of him. In my dreams, he's always sitting at the kitchen door, tail flicking, then he walks over and rubs against my ankle. When I wake up, I get this warm thought, he's just checking to make sure I'm okay. Now I know he's really gone. For those 10 years, he didn't just pass the time with me, he lived with me. His leaving didn't leave darkness or fear behind. It filled the quiet with soft, lingering memories. Those strange nights and silent poor steps weren't a curse. They were his way of saying goodbye. Jasper is gone, but he taught me that love doesn't need a body to stay real. It's quiet, it's true. You don't have to see it to feel it beside you. Right up until the last time he jumped on the windowsill. I came to this cabin for a short vacation in early October. It was a little trip I planned for myself. I just wanted to get away from the city for a few days and clear my head somewhere quiet. The cabin sits near the edge of a forest, about a 20-minute drive to the nearest convenience store. I found it online. The owner said it used to belong to his aunt, and no one lives there now. I didn't think too much about it. I booked 5 nights, packed a few days' worth of food and some books, and drove out here. The area was peaceful. At night, I could hear owls calling and the wind moving through the trees. The first 3 days were calm and uneventful. I'd sleep until I naturally woke up, eat some toast and bacon, take walks around the yard in the afternoon, then watch movies or read in bed at night. The cabin was old, but clean. The fireplace was dusty, so I didn't bother using it. Meals were simple, frozen chicken breasts with canned corn, sometimes some instant pasta. I wasn't there for gourmet food, just convenience. On the 4th night, I saw her for the first time. It was almost 10. I was sitting on the couch, watching the news on an old TV that flickered with static. I heard a sharp knock on the window, not loud, but clear. The window was just to my left, facing the forest. I turned my head and froze. There was a pale face pressed against the glass, wearing a big black hat, the kind of tall, pointed hat you'd see on a witch costume for Halloween. I just stared. Before I could react, the face vanished. I yanked the curtain open. Nothing outside. I grabbed a flashlight and stepped out into the cold. The air bit at my skin, and the yard was silent, not even the rustle of leaves. I told myself I was just tired, seeing things. But in the days that followed, it got stranger. The next morning, I found the back door slightly open, just a crack, but enough to feel wrong. I knew for sure I had locked every door and latched them before bed. But there it was, open, with a few dead leaves scattered on the wooden floor. It didn't look like they'd blown in, more like someone had stepped through. I didn't want to dwell on it. I just checked the doors and windows more carefully every night, double-checking, then checking again. And then there were the stones. Every morning when I opened the front door, I'd find a few small stones neatly arranged on the porch, sometimes 3, sometimes 7. Thin twigs connected them like some kind of symbol. The first day I kicked them aside. The next morning, they were back, a different shape, slightly moved. That day, my hands shook so badly at breakfast that I spilled coffee on my napkin and accidentally spooned salt into my cup instead of sugar. On the 9th night, it got worse. I was brushing my teeth when I heard something outside the bathroom window. A faint scratching, slow and steady, like fingernails dragging across the glass. The window is tiny, right above the sink. I spat into my cup and crept closer. The scratching stopped. I lifted the corner of the curtain just enough to peek out, and saw her. She was walking away into the trees, still wearing that huge black hat. Her movement was strange, like she was gliding rather than walking. I called the police, told them someone was lurking around the cabin at night. They came the next day, looked around, but didn't find anything. One of the officers asked if it might just be a Halloween prank. I shook my head. He said they'd patrol the area a bit more often and told me not to worry. But I did. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat on the couch with a baseball bat in my hands. I left the living room lights on and kept the TV on low. Around midnight, I heard a soft squeaking sound from the fireplace, at first like mice, but to steady, to rhythmic. I walked over, crouched down, peered inside. Nothing. The sound felt like it was coming from inside the wall itself, a low, pulsing beat. I tapped the brick with the end of the bat. The sound stopped. I stood there, frozen, sweat trickling down my back. My legs felt heavy, like they were full of lead. After a few seconds, I backed away and sat down again, turning the TV up just a little louder. The next day, I drove to the town library, hoping to dig up anything about the cabin's past. An old man at the front desk helped me find some old newspapers and records. He told me this cabin belonged to a seamstress 60 years ago, a woman who lived alone. People used to call her the one with the hat. They said she never came out during the day, only on full moon nights, collecting sticks and stones in the woods, doing strange rituals. No one dared watch too closely. I didn't believe in those kinds of ghost stories, but that night, I made up my mind to see for myself who was playing tricks on me. A little after 11, I grabbed my brightest flashlight, bundled up, and stepped outside. The cold hit me like needles. Every crunch of dead leaves under my boots made my skin crawl. I'd only walked a few steps when I saw her standing at the forest's edge, her back to me, the black hat as dark as ink. I shone the light at her. She didn't move. I called out, "Hey." She slowly turned around. Her face was too pale to look human, smooth, blank, with no makeup and no expression. She didn't speak. She just stared at me. I couldn't read her. She didn't come closer, didn't run. She just stood there, watching. I turned and bolted back inside, locked the door, dragged a chair to barricade it. I didn't sleep at all. I sat there all night, listening for every gust of wind or creak of wood outside. At sunrise, I grabbed my wallet and phone, got in my car, and left everything else behind. Later, the owner called to ask if I was unhappy with the stay. I just told him something came up unexpectedly,